you so much, Kim. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. Buenos noches. Welcome, bienvenidos. I'm Sandy Yannone, your host of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Well, it's Sunday, and it's the third Sunday of the month of May. And on the third Sunday, that means it's our wild card open mic. It's our wild card open mic to close out our readings for the month of May. You all bring the poetry. I just pronounce your name and introduce you and get to enjoy all the poetry today. And we will hear today from 12 featured poets, 5 minutes apiece. And if we can, we take you to the 90-minute mark for our reading. And we sometimes can, that means we can, depending how much I get out of the way, we can have a few bonus readers in reading, joining, sharing from our wait list. So if you're just joining us here in Zoom, a reminder that if you'd like to read, just please sign up and we'll get to as many of you as possible. Lovely Sunday welcome, or maybe Monday for some of you who may be watching us live on Facebook. And of course, many of you, hundreds of you every single week watch the program from our recording, which would not happen if it were not for the absolute devotion and dutifulness to the task of our most beloved Don Krieger. So thank you for providing that opportunity for so many folks to watch after the live program. And as always, thanks to Kim Ports Parsons for setting up all the shenanigans that we're about to be involved with today, all the wonderful poetry. Again, we will be heading to our list of our open mic readers, our featured readers for today. And if you are interested in reading, please put your name in the chat. And we are already headed to our waiting list. So anyone signing up at this moment will be, hopefully we'll be getting one poem in for you. Well, first up today for our wild card open mic, it's Harvey Soss. Welcome, Harvey.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great.
Let me, before I read a couple of poems, just invite you to Artful Dodgers Poetry's next open mic, which may be a virtual, a hybrid virtual in-person reading, either on July 10th or on July 17th. I'll post something in the chat and then follow up with a Cultivating Voices post, on the site once I've scheduled it. I'm going to try and do this with a screen share. I'm not exactly sure. Do I just press on the button down here, or maybe not? Oh, okay. Well, let's do it again.
Yeah, if you have a tool, you on your toolbar, there's usually
there. Okay, there we go.
There it is, right there.
Let's see if I can do this. All right, first poem, I don't think I've read here. It's called Reclamation Project. I can smell the blood this ground is soaked in, squishy underfoot as honey cake in the rain. It boils up through fissures, a hot spring of paupers and prophets, a soul soup of lost generations. Missing rungs in the ladder of my forebears, names that are sung cantorially on Holocaust Remembrance Day. Unmown grasses tug at my boots, hands of children as a mass grave regurgitates its dead. Stars by the trainload unpinned from the sleeves of the deceased, yellow overhead as if on a dimmer. In this sad clown place where in an earlier time I would have been standing just the other side of barbed wire, there exists not so much as a glimmer of hopefulness, despite turgid efforts of spin doctors, all of the plastic surgeon variety, to give it a new face, engaging landscapers, employing subtle yet effective measures to hide from us bone bits of its hitman identity, its shamefully buried history. A multi-use development with kitty, pool, and park arises non-pro-tunc where SS piranha once swarmed seeking flesh, its camouflaging plum trees more suggestive of Slivovitz than of Auschwitz. We didn't know echoes hollowly off rows of newly planted saplings, off slides and swing sets, the masquerade in full swing, and couldn't have done anything about it if we had known. As close to a confession as descendants of survivors are likely to get from goose steppers and bottle blondes yoked unwillingly, as they tell it, into submission by one man's will. I stop a while to adjust a bootlace atop a half-filled ditch, its rumored destiny being what the British might call a football pitch, the earth there waiting to be kicked at, having settled uncomfortably into a grimace of the sort that likely preceded Edvard Munch's The Scream, any of his several versions of a woman's iconic agony at the news of the death of a soldier's son, or perhaps of her own unwanted pregnancy and abandonment, or some other triggering event. Standing transfixed under a fresh squeezed orange sky, as I do now in the crepuscular hour, orange turning to black, wondering whose face it is, or what family of faces I've been stepping on. And something a little different. This is called Laika Space Dog, just a little bit of explanation. During the Russian space program in the 50s into early 60s, they had a number of dogs who they were preparing to send up as subjects into space. Four are named in this poem. One ran away, he was the smart one. Two never made it into space. And then there was little Laika. They sent her up without any heat in the space capsule because she wasn't coming back. Little Laika Space Dog. Chagall's cow flying high over a stupefied village stood a better chance of surviving than Laika did, her liquidly expressive eyes having darkened to singularities. No Khrushchevite was ever a dog's best friend, bladder full and looking for a curb or hydrant. She believed she was being taken for a walk with her Leninist pup pals Albina and Muka. Nobody asked her if she wanted to roll over and play dead in soya stew. They didn't so much as throw her the bone of a heads up, just strapped her in and off she went with a one-way ticket to pee the moon. Did anyone bother to give her a medal, Order of Lenin, Hero of the Soviet Union, or stoop to gush, good canine cosmonaut, as might have been expected? No, not even that. No shoe-thumping speechifying by Nikita preceded her entry into Wikipedia. Only some fur-loving bureaucrat's wife absently petting her in lieu of a more elaborate send-off. Nor did Laika's handlers, usually affectionate and good for a belly scratch, when she trustingly exposed it to them, offer a juicy veal chop or two as a last meal, liquefied kibble comprising both the before and in-flight menu, yet still better than many dog-eating Soviets had it, babushkas icing over as they huddled on day-old bread lines in hopes of a crust. Had she known what a test it would be to void in space, how difficult it would be to lift up her hind leg in weightlessness without fear of floating into her own doggone mess, she might have slipped her leash like that lucky mutt Bobik did in 51. A coward, yes, but still alive. As our little Laika in 57 might have been had she run for her life, pledging bark and bite to the anti-Soviet resistance. Thank you.
That's Harvey Soss, everyone. I did not know that story about little Leica. I don't know how that escaped me, but that's astounding.
Yeah.
And
They had neither the technology nor the will to
rules.
return trip.
Right, that's
Basically, she froze to death up there.
oh my gosh, just
Yeah, I know.
thank you for memorializing her not chosen sacrifice.
Yeah, if she was still alive, she'd probably be peeing down here on Putin's bald head, but that's
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, poetry allows us so many things, like to learn about history, to memorialize, just so many aspects of what we can gain from history. And today I learned something new that I hadn't known about. Well, I'm going to think about her now. I'm going to look her up on Wikipedia. Thank you so much, Harvey Soss.
sure.
And next, we'll hear from Alexandra Psaropoulou. Welcome, my friend.
Hello. I'm just making sure that you can see the graphics going by.
I see it brilliantly. They are going by.
Okay.
They are
thank you.
glorious.
Line 16. Do they know the throbbing of my aura is shaped with storms and sunrises, raging Titan battles and cirrus waves, asking for exquisiteness in this microcosm that offers visionless nights, deluding shadowed consciousness, in this macrocosm that offers shimmering oceans, rippling golden primary rays, raising physical generations filled with high-spirited panentheism, protecting year's expression of wedded earth and sky, each cycle directing us to higher spheres of transparent visibility, enduring olive trees blossoming out of granite, rebirths blossoming out of catastrophes. Do they know the pulsation of my well-being is shaped with suffering and prayers, cracked fates and miracles, asking for empowerment in this microcosm that offers sacrifices steeped in bloodied laurels and stigmas, in this macrocosm that offers sanctified healing from etheric vitalizing currents, forming astric generations inside the antecedent Olympian womb, woven by an ancient rotating cosmic nucleus, contracting and dilating, attracting and repulsing, desynthesizing and resynthesizing omnipotent force. Authentic cures awakening out of taxing disorders. Vigor awakening out of feebleness. Do they know the resonance of my hymns is shaped with chimeras and truths, remodeled longings and wind chimes, asking for harmonization in this microcosm that offers nostalgic harps from lost treasures, in this macrocosm that offers 7-chord lyres tuned with Apollonian notes, reverberating noetic generations, led by Orphic pioneers, by sacred sibyls, by Delphic ideals, in a perfect rhythm of dithyrambic solidarity, in a luminous maturation of our superior selves. Supernal melodies spiraling out of clamorous dissension, eudaimonia spiraling out of melancholy. Do they know the euphoria of my triumphs is shaped with steel and devotion, Pyrrhic dances and ecstasies, asking for humanization? In this microcosm that offers unholy acts of hybris, in this macrocosm that offers honorable acts of praise, progressing numinous generations, sharing lightning sword intuition, bearers of prophecies with earthly duties, initiating merging poetry, science, philosophy, politics into one indivisible prototype of unrivaled integrity. Or it humans ascending out of rudimentary humans. Golden ages ascending out of barbarity. Do they know at all the pledge of our flights is shaped with chaoses and creations, perishable and imperishable psyche flares, asking for inextinguishable, omniscient eruptions? Thank you.
That is Alexandra Psaropoulou, everyone, from the Flying series. We don't always share this, but every single time. But it takes a good month for Alexandra to prepare the image, those luminous spiraling images to accompany her work. And they continue to do their good work on me. I get drawn in more and more as I listen, as I've been listening all these months.
It takes 3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months. That's even 3 to 4 months. That's even more remarkable. 3 to 4 months. Thank you for correcting me. The line today, the pledge of our flight, our flight with poetry today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today on our wild card open mic, folks. And if you are appreciating the poetry here live in Zoom, please do be sure to for your respectful, encouraging comments. Same for you folks joining us on Facebook. And we appreciate your engagement with the poets and letting them know how poetry is reaching and moving and connecting with you. Well, our next poet, another poet with his own very unique style. I love how you fold a line, my friend, is Ken Burch. Thank you. Great to have you with us today.
It's good to be here, Sandra. I've got a series of haiku poems and a couple of attempts at a skinny. I heard of that poem in the forum section. I figured I'd give it a shot. So we're going to start with the haiku form ones. Endless heating days, heat, dust born from months of damp, nothing else between. Nothing sure ahead, save that at all times there is less than can be seen. Flowers nonetheless emerge still of the cycle, nourished, but by what? May there someday be blossoms brought to spectral joy, not by loss alone. And here are the skinny poems. I think I've got the structure right. Someone can tell me. Somewhere what might be is not, here in this place, where here may not be here. Somewhat what is not, somehow what is not might be. Morning comes and all is in the difference. Where we live or where we do not, where all is in the difference, morning comes. 60 years and 2 I have lived, watching for the signs, watching for the light, watching. I have lived 60 years and 2. Do I have time for one more? Do I have time for one more?
Go right ahead.
Okay, this is a structure I'm trying to work with. Sort of a repeating line thing. I'd be interested to see how this comes across. I'm thinking of Florida and what's happened under Mr. DeSantis and the idea of restricting ideas in this. Some prefer to say that nothing ever can be that which is not now, building mental fences around them, keeping everything unknown away, while building mental fences around them. Everything is what they see now, all beyond that beaten back with sticks. All beyond that beaten back with sticks, while everything is what they see now. Why should any newfound word, color, sound, or taste or scent be known? Color, sound, or taste or scent be known, while why should any newfound word that might somehow slip through the fence and in what's next make residence? Thank you.
Oh, that's Ken Burch, everyone. Really, really cool too. Like, I've learned about the skinny, brought it and tried it out, brought it to the program. I'm reminded when you're talking about Florida, the state of Florida, of course. Elizabeth Bishop has this poem, first line, Florida, the state with the prettiest name. I don't know if I agree necessarily for those of you here in the States that might live in a different state than Florida, but it does have a beautiful lilt to it. I wish that everything that was going on in Florida also had the same lilt to it.
It literally means, it references a flower, doesn't it?
It does, yes, yeah. Well, it's always a good day when I can sneak in a little reference to Elizabeth Bishop. Well, folks, it's our wild card open mic, so I guess I get to be a little wild in the hosting today. We will hear now from Sylvia Clare, followed by Joanne James. Welcome, Sylvia.
Welcome. I'm just going to put this share screen. Have you got that? Mental health collection. I recently got interested in the idea of something called hypergraphia, which is a kind of mental health problem for writing. Apparently, it's a sort of insanity, right? When you have a mental health problem, you have to keep writing, and it's a sort of mental health issue. It's not seen as just a way of writing out your trauma. Well, I've got quite complex trauma, so I thought I'd actually put a collection of poems about trauma together. To kind of exercise my right to be hypergraphic if I am. Anyway, hello trauma. Hello trauma, here you are again, greeting me as soon as early morning consciousness enters the light. The comfort of sleep suddenly stripped back hard. How can I grow with your heavy dark clouds always present? It is almost as if you lay in wait for this first morning moment to pounce, unannounced, grabbing me before natural joy manifests for this day, before I can summon the deepest happiness that also dwells constantly inside me. Like a bully, you push to the front, seeking to dominate the coming hours with your taking precedence, like ivy seeking to cling and smother. There is a deeper power of love, wisdom, one that knows you are nothing, a memory, a neural pathway that has got stuck, nothing more than that. And I shall not let you grow today. I shall water carefully only grow only the joyful seedlings in my garden, explore the buds that have emerged. This glorious fresh spring day shines forth, beckoning. It shall have my best. Thank you. This is, because I also have ADHD. My family has a lot of initials. I have letters after my name: MA, MSc, ADHD, PTSD, you know, that's how it goes. On being neurodivergent. We use the same words, you and I, then their meaning is lost in a chasm of interpretation of intent misguided. Lost in translation, so they say, deliberate or unavoidable. Can you translate one brain to another? One set of paradigms, life lessons? Can you understand my world or I yours? Perhaps if we give time and love, we might reach a decision to stretch across the divides and see what is true and pure in each other. Can you understand my trauma? Can I see yours? Can we speak across time zones? Can you reach into my pain and joy and find your own? When I love, I intend to give all. Can you carry that gift? Or is it a burden for you, a weight you prefer to drop? And giving my love, do I also give my anguish? Is that what drives you back, holds you distant from our souls meeting? The tender flower of my life, of yours, so easily wilted in fierce heat or dry cold. My desire to be gentle always. My mind literal and direct, sharp as a splinter piercing flesh. My hand touches you as gently as a petal falling from a cherry tree in spring. Can you embrace both in one? Can we ever reach each other and hold each other's heart? Have I got time for one more, Sandy? Okay. Mind my mental elastic. When I was, my boys were growing up, they liked to push me as fast as they could. And I developed this idea that life is like an elastic band. And mummy's ability to cope is like an elastic band. So if you stretch it too hard, it pings back on you and it hurts. So don't pull my mental elastic. Don't pull me too far out of shape. I may be eager to please, flexible, malleable. I may also be fragile. Do you want my honesty and gentleness or a defensive monster reaching breaking point? I have my vulnerabilities too. When we find boundaries, when we reach limits, what is it that makes us go further? Why not respect a line where no rests comfortably? Love is infinite, humanness is not. We are all weak, with breaking points that snap and hurt all around. What is the challenge to proceed? What act of the will or ego makes us seek to destroy instead of gently loving and tenderly holding? Power-crazed hunger consuming all. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Sylvia Clare. I'm not supposed to be talking too much in between the poems, but you know me, I get swept away. And it's such a good reminder. Poetry is this entry point to not only just support us in our own journeys to cope and learn, but to connect with others. And I think, and to make, at least for me, like my own traumas, challenges, less isolating. And again, that there's so many ways that poetry functions, and this is certainly one of those powerful ones, to be able to share and make things less isolating for one another. Thank you very much for sharing those poems today, Sylvia.
My pleasure. Thank you for letting me.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Well, we now get to hear from Joanne James. I saw a beautiful picture of you.
There, I'm unmuted.
There you
My
are.
picture of me and Karen.
Yeah, that was the one.
I'm so glad that Sylvia mentioned neurodivergent, because my favorite poets right now are being published from Milkweed's Multiverse series. And there was two poets, and I saw them read, and I just changed my idea of what you can do with language when they're nonverbal, but they're poets. And it's been interesting to hear that more, neurodivergent. I brought two poems, and they're both about the natural world. Those wild animals are dreams, moving slowly through the forests. Maybe you only get a glimpse, the fox of nowhere. The foxes of nothing. Your sensual psyche stretches across the landscape. You are a deep, hidden lake of everything. When you drop down, when you lift the skies, there is no turning back, and night black feathered raven blocks the way. How do strangers find you in the forests of Underland when you hear the somnolent hum of insects? In the grasses you lie down heavy with hope. Clouds are speaking your dream volumes. Clouds, wild animals, eyes watching in the tight tunnel of light, your night breath, where dreams like great trees uprooted, volcanoes churning, bottomless lakes. In time, you will be asked to remember. Then you need a scribe. There will be hieroglyphics, those nomads of the universe, your dream volumes forever glued to your soul. And I didn't even realize I'd had the volcanoes in that one. Thank you. And now this poem I'm going to read, Sandy, you gave me the suggestion to read it. I sent out work for the first time in 20 years. Now I've been writing all that time. 2004, and I just was like, oh, well, that's good. So I sent out poems, and a week later, this poem was published. It was a wonderful experience. It's in Mollusk Lit Mag, and it's titled Funeral for Clark Glaciers. And I live in the Willamette Valley near the Cascade Mountains. There's 3 peaks, and they're volcanic. And one, the second sister, South Sister, has a glacier, and it's actually extinct now, and people went and had a funeral recently. We journeyed over fields with ghosts where they held a funeral for Clark Glacier on South Sister. We all thought a glacier was a broken record. Now we are brokenhearted. In my dreams, glaciers are weeping, then gone. We pared our nails, shaved our heads in mourning. Glaciers clawing gold veins in the earth like masterpieces, abstract expressionists, ancient powers. We handed round boxes of Kleenex. An ocean of tears would not bring back Clark. The news was stunning. The day was dusty. I had a hangnail. I always have hangnails, a sign of nervousness, a sign of frustration. Eclipse and sinew, beeswax, doublemint gum. The ghost of Clark Glacier, a force field of lost. We pass out ribbon candy from a glass candy dish, always on my grandmother's coffee table. The ribbon candy is eternal and tastes like Auburn before I was an Oregonian, living near volcanic fields and waterfalls. The demise of glaciers, all the manifestations of Cascadia. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful, just beautiful. Yeah, I love that poem, and good for you, my friend, getting the work out there. Kudos. Keep going, keep writing, keep sending out, keep sending out. Well, you know, we have an abundance of riches today on the program. Our next poet, I love to hear poetry. Gordon Ferris.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to read a few short poems now. I should be well under 4 minutes. First one is called His Father Speaks to Him in a Dream. He said his father appeared to him in a dream, promised him that all would turn out right in the end. He said it doesn't make sense now, but all your problems will fall into place. If there's nothing you can do about them, then just do nothing. If something needs doing, then just do it. His words were something like out of one of the Western movies, the private fantasy world he inhabited. It all made sense there, but here in the real world, he was the odd one out. And this one is called The Outsider. This came from watching Grey's Anatomy, which I'm ashamed of. The Outsider. She whispered secrets with her best friends. She looks for comfort where she can find it. She hopes against all hope, against all logic, and against all her vast experience, that maybe just once the loser, the least one they expect, just might win. And this is called I Exist. My only wish is never to feel oppressed by the fact that I do exist, and that all men of God be made to share a room with 20 sinners just to test their fate and to piss them off. And this is, it's meant to be a love poem. It's about somebody that I liked from a distance and had an imaginary conversation with her and convinced myself that she wouldn't go out with someone like me. It's called For You. Can I be near you? Mind if I sit here a while? No need to talk or try to fit in. I'll just sit here for your smile. Wonder from where you came. Was it from a dream? Has a wish come true? An impossible dream wish, always knowing I can't have you. And this is called View from a Train. Winter trees in a barren field, skeletal, like Holocaust survivors in icy rain. Some reaching arms to heaven, some on their knees in prayer. Some are just a memory now, eternal dusk upon them. Another of history's winters. And this one is called View Inside a Train. Daisies flash by in a blur of green. Place becomes unfamiliar with movement in the window screen. Thoughts fly by like blurred images in the glass. No sense can be made of random words heard or from within, or random images seen or in my eyes. A distant sleepscape from a deep, deep dream where all seems at peace. And this one is called It Doesn't Feel Like It. It doesn't feel like it, but we are chained from all our pleasantries. Things are still sweet despite all the joy and your loveliness. Things in reality are still constrained, impossible to finally complete. Caught up in the effort to use poetry, you may find it unbearable to stress how very little you have really gained. How need be that good fortune you do meet. Those who finally learn to live on less, learn to live, as the song says, by letting it be. Disperse the cloud, remove your hidden crown from your misplaced desire to be free. But to see your freedom is being your own. And that's it. That's me. Thank you.
That's Gordon Ferris, everyone. You know, what I really appreciate when you come on is your clarity of the shorter poem. It's its own skill to do. And I was reminded today in hearing you of when I first read W.S. Merwin's book, The Rain in the Trees. You know, there are these crystals that get offered in in these beautiful, beautiful short bursts. And I always love that you bring those to them to the program. Thank you so much, Gordon. Well, next we have the pleasure to hear from Mona Zamfirescu, followed by David Brydges. Welcome, Mona, and I think you had requested to share screen, so please feel free to go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to say, speaking of what you mentioned about graduations and stuff, I just came back from a trip to Oklahoma, southwest Oklahoma, and I wish to offer this poem I wrote there as a land acknowledgement for the home of the Comanche, Apache, Kiowa warrior cultures and their allies, the Wichita, semi-settled plains villagers and buffalo hunters. So I wrote this poem, and I'm going to share it with some images, if I may. Oh, it doesn't show?
Not showing yet. There it is. It's
Wait,
just up on screen.
I'll start from scratch. Okay.
Very good.
The day my son became a soldier, I took this troubled heart to the mountain in the refuge where the buffalo still roams. I walked for hours under the scorching sun, no other company but soaring eagles. I walked the rugged paths through meadows of blooming green threads and barren oaks. I walked as if my feet were bare, touching Indian graves under each rock. Each blossom, the memory of a forgotten soul. Indian paintbrush and blanket, blazing the way down to the river. This other kind of grave. Out of the shimmering waves, though faint, I hear a clear voice. Do not be afraid, my daughter. There is this gift still to be given. On each side of the road, wildflowers welcome you, mother, into this larger heart. As far as I can see, everywhere, the mountain wildflowers sing for me.
That is beautiful. There is still this gift to be given. Thank you for the gift of that poem today. And all those beautiful images that accompanied the gift of those lines of poems, of poetry today. Wow. That's Mona Zamfirescu, everyone, here on the program. It's our wild card open mic. And on the open mic, we get to experience the range of emotions, the range of humanity, the range of our connection with the natural and the supernatural. And of course, our connections with each other. No better way to do it than through poetry. We've just had a beautiful example of that. Thank you again, Mona. All my best to you. I have new glasses, so I can't quite do what I used to do with my heart and put it into my little socket. I have to get used to the now. I use the heart now. Well, now we will get to hear from our friend north. Well, north of where I am, actually north, you're northeast of where I am. David Brydges, welcome.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you to all the poets that have read and the ones to come. These are always very enjoyable afternoons. I've been following on television the wildfires in Western Canada, particularly in Alberta. I've got a lot of friends there, and the existential crisis that's attached to it, or somewhat detached from it, unfortunately. One of Alexandra's lines really resonated with my poem. Bearers of prophecies with earthly duties. Did nature fire humanity? But by the same word, the heavens and earth that now exist are stored up for fire, being kept until the day of judgment and destruction of the ungodly. 2 Peter 3-7. We humans call it wildfires. Nature calls it the apocalypse is here. A self-fulfilling prophecy prophets had prophesied. My friend in Edmonton leaves a voice message saying the air quality is apocalyptic. On television, an Indigenous mother cries, walking over the fresh ashes of her daughter's former house. So much suffering of loss echoes from these ashes, echoes from these hearts empty of what was. We have humiliated nature. And is it payback time? The doomsday clock can't be reversed. Natural disasters, a very diplomatic phrase, is a disruptive force in the whole world. Extreme weather, we do not associate the gods must be angry, but are they? Science, with its secular smile, poo-poos any unscientific material explanation for a perilous planet. If the ancient gods are extinct, does this mean we will too? Or do we need to paganize Earth with a renewed mythology? Everything is holy. The final question is how we relearn the sacred covenant entrusted to us. I have no answers, only know we must wake up together to refresh our wisdom in finding the mother in our earth. Or
Wow. Alexandra, I can hear that echo. Also, in some way, in the way that you read today, I heard you read differently than I've ever heard you read before. And it was, if I knew better, but I don't, I would almost feel like on the page, every line was a stanza. Like there was a stanza break after every single line. There was space because you were really, really taking that pause and letting us absorb. Almost every line is how I experienced it. Thank you so much. That's David Brydges, everyone. I'm getting a little message that says my internet is a little unstable. So just a little forewarning here. It must be all the poetry doing that, doing its work, doing its mesmerizing work to create the instability. All is well, though. Well, we now get to go back over to the pond, go across the pond. I love this human. I love his work. I love his words. I love the humanity that he brings always. He's been with us for a long time. Cathal MacThréinfhir, great to see you always, always, always.
Always good to see you, Sandy, and thank you everybody for the readings. Once again, a lovely way to spend the evening here in Ireland as it grows to dusk. Okay, I'll just try and give you two poems at a time. I'll start off with the first one. The Battle of Thermopylae. In Maceton Thermopylon, 480 BC, in honor of Constantine P. Cafafi. Malone l'Abbé. I still have my boots from that day, worn and battered, blistered leather, caked in the soil of Thermopylae. The springs are still there, bubbling hot, no longer a spa surrounded by the tents of wealthy Greeks seeking her healing waters. No longer the Aegean washes the rocks close to that way made narrow by her salty breakers that struck the rocks of that mountain pass, its name timeless and of hallowed ground, shadowed like a clenched fist, the battle space that lay between Leonidas and Xerxes. The day was warm, the sun were a blister in a cloudless sky as I walked thigh high through its mountain stream, deep and clean and nourishing and numbing cold. Beyond a pebble beach, the mountains flanked on each side, stretched necked they soared, beyond my reach, as I pushed against the water's tide. Down the stream from a wooded way, the meads had rushed on that third and final day. As I stood upon the burial mound of the 300 Spartan dead, I looked out on a modern highway where once the Aegean Sea did pound. We must take care that a modern nightmare Ephialtes-like may not betray us to the meads of our day. Atop the mound, etched in the stone, is that ageless epitaph of Simonides, long known by all who care to see, an epigram worthy of Laconia. Oithen, Magdalene, Lacedaemonios, Otisea, Gemetha, Tos Kemon Ramasi Pathomenoi. Go tell the Spartans, O stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. My second one for you was a villanelle, if I may. It's called The Shiver of Dark Water. I hope you enjoy it. The shiver of dark water. The shiver of dark water catches light, its shimmered surface caught in wintertime, whitening wintering eyes with burnt snow. Icy whispers fill breath of day and flight, as in the fierce burnt ring of day they chime, the shiver of dark water catches light. Ages have circled the forest that night, have left the greying mountain worn by time, whitening wintering eyes with burnt snow. The chill day can carry a blinding light, whose rays can crack the solid ice so fine, the shiver of dark water catches light. Let not the fever of a moment's flight blind will to see the road untaken, whitening wintering eyes with burnt snow. As each night falls, the moon reflects her light. Stars and planets in their courses align. The shiver of dark water catches light, whitening wintering eyes with burnt snow. And that's the second one. I'll leave it with 2 tonight, and back to you. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Cathal. There's nothing like the musicality of your words. I'm just always enthralled when I get to hear your poems, and today I think because of kind of the connections of the other poems, that line in your poem, we must take care. We must take care. It seems to be this touchstone that connects to the others. And of course, thinking about the shiver of dark water makes me think of so many things. And, where my mind always first goes to is Titanic. So I immediately was there, but it made me think of other things as well. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Well, as I mentioned, poetry, has that great capacity to support us, and when we need that little extra care. And I want to go back to David's poem for a moment. Here in the Pacific Northwest, here in Washington State, actually, the weather today is part of the haze of those fires. So I'm so mindful of kind of the horrors of what's kind of raging up north, because we're seeing some of the effects of it down here as well. So again, I thank you and for sharing, and my continued thoughts go out to everyone. Well, very, very glad to see my friend Marcella Remund join the program today. I hope the poetry has been nourishing to you, my friend, and always a good day in my world when I get to hear 1 or 2 or as many of yours as we could get into that 5 minutes.
Thank you, Sandy. So I'll just tell you all that my husband had a heart attack this week, and it was his 5th heart attack, and he is fine, home healing, but I wanted to read this poem because by some strange synchronicity, I just finished the poem the night before he had the heart attack. So it's all very strange. This is called Plea to Saint Paula, who is the patron of wives and widows. Saint Paula, my sisters and I, though ribboned with blue veins, stoved up by frozen joints, blinking behind bifocals, thick as leaded windows, are too young to knuckle under. There must be some final reward for these long years of battle or service, labor or love. Some of our helpmates have long since slunk off with firm-breasted women. Some have taken that rocky road home, leaving us widowed. Help us to breathe deeply, release twisted muscles, to be only ourselves again. Bless us, Saint Paula, with knees that still fold into a kayak, with eyes sharp enough to follow pages into astonishing new worlds, with arms like Atlas to bear this weight of aging. Help us to be companion and comfort for each other when in each of our homes, evening fires burn down and rooms echo with stillness. And this next poem, thank you all. This next poem is, I've been kind of reworking some Greek myths for myself. And this is called Mother Chaos. Deep in the silvered mirror, beyond the reflection of this life's aging husk, Mother Chaos swirls, holds open to me her center like a black hole, like a Shilanagi. She shows me the power that comes from darkness, that cauldron of steaming elements from which all gods are born. I see now how the heart of my reflection is only scrim, a veil between chaos and ourselves, our daughters, our granddaughters, down the line of creation, falling like stars into the ocean, into order. Thank you. And this next poem is comes out of my, I think most Americans are deeply traumatized by the violence happening in our country, and especially the violence against school children happening in our country. And I remember seeing a movie when I was a kid called The Boy with the Green Hair, kind of an obscure little Dean Stockwell movie that almost no one's heard of, produced by Howard Hughes. So this is partly my response to the violence happening now and my love of this movie. It's called The Girl with the Green Hair. There are so many kinds of war now, so many front lines children play near, so many innocent ways they can set off the anger and despair of other kids shuffled into shadows too long, or adults who've long forgotten we too were children once. Until somewhere in another classroom, children huddle, hold their breath and each other's small hands, while a teacher who thought her life would be petting kids on the head, mopping up spilled temper paint, and cutting out cardboard ABCs, becomes a human shield at the door, waiting to die. So if my hair is turning green, like the war orphan in the movies, let it remind us that children should grow wild in splendid gardens where each of us wields a hoe. And then I have one quick last poem. Thank you. That's a dog poem. It's called Black Pig Loose on Bluff Road. Black pig loose on Bluff Road, says the post. It says, just saw a car go by doing 40 or more. Sorensen's lost a milking goat on that road. Who's missing their pig? The post reminds me of the time our dog ran off, a husky wolf mix. He was the dog version of a bodybuilder. He owned the cave under our toddler's bed, wouldn't let my husband near. A low wolf snarl, light flashing off bared teeth, hackles raised, and those yellow eyes can make a dog hard to love. But sometimes he would crawl out and find me, roll belly up in my lap, paw softly at my arm to pet him, and we would stay that way in our wolf-woman meld. The day he came home with the neighbor's hen flapping in his teeth, I knew he'd have to go. He knew it too. Maybe the black pig, like all of us, knew he'd worn patience too thin, knew the truck backed up to the pen was just another ticking clock. Thank you. Thank you all.
That's Marcella Remund, everyone, and keep you on our thoughts, of course, continued healing. That we all can continue to grow wild. Just keep growing wild. From our childhoods to our whole lot, through our whole lives. Really, truly. Remarkable. I had chills at the beginning, I had chills at the end. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have just today has been such an amazing delight for me on this program. Folks who I see regularly and some folks I haven't seen for a while, and it's like a little mini reunion today for some reason in my heart. No one with a bigger heart than our next poet, Isaac Cohen. Hello, Isaac.
Hi, Sandy. Hi, Kim. Hi, Don, and all my friends
All your friends.
in the world. Isaac Cohen, the actor. The light is on. All the stars were born for me. Now my soul lies beyond the sky. Go. And second, wait a minute. Yeah. Isaac Cohen, The Ride of Love. You ride like a horse into my heart. I close the gate and we unite in even. And the chair, wait a minute. No. Isaac Cohen, The Beauty of Love. I sculpt you, you draw me. The angel says, look at the splendor of creation. Thank you, Isaac Cohen, Israel.
That is the one and only Isaac Cohen. The
Thank
one
you.
and only, the one and only, the one and only. My mom wrote in the chat, I love that you're reading today. So thank you. Thank you. Me too.
Thank you.
So good to see you. Well, our final featured poet for today, before we have a brief foray into the wait list. Yeva Johnson. Beautiful to see you today.
Thank you, Sandy and Kim and Don and everyone. I'm so enjoying this today. And then I heard, oh, wild card. I've got a few poems here. I have 3 poems I will do, each one shorter than the last, with, as usual, just for you, Sandy, a little music before and after. first poem is called Urges. Hidden behind the pelvic brim and supplied by the this tight balloon reaches for peri-umbilical glory when full. But that glory is ever brief as it collapses back to the retropubic space behind the symphysis pubis. Its flabby resting place where mucous membrane rugae accumulate in relief after they've lost everything. Much less fancy than the kidney, just 2 tubes in and 1 tube out instead of the other way round. One humble sac permits the action of life to proceed without sitting on the toilet, as long as we hold it. This airtight inverted flask, not of perfume or lemonade, but when fortified by the internal sphincter, this flask becomes the sacred caustic liquid bearer. The smooth trigone, always a place to hold liquid excitement, fear, dread, anger, or any strong humor. Drained by the vesical venous plexus, this residual waste pool, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, unleashes the pleasure of urinating when the detrusor muscle contracts at will. Better not laugh now. The next poem is called Lost and Found. Is it any wonder as my body changes, so goes my mood, my perceived age too? It's no wonder. Some days I'm up and about, put on some good music and I'm there with you, dancing. When that cold, drafty weather sets in, what did they used to call it? Oh yeah, the rheumatism. That'll slow me down real quick. Back in my 20s, it used to feel like I was 80, but now it just feels more and more and more familiar. The stiff purple spine pins me to my seat. The snow-white flurries intermittently smudge my sight. The viridian feet, now pale, make me walk slow as lichen grows. When I'm so tired, every idea has scattered, I face not quite the blank page, but those empty, infinite highways edged in faint blue. Nothing but yonder. I wonder as my finger grasps the firm, smooth barrel of my pen and beseechingly strokes the velvet vellum but finds nothing. Do my lost poems go to that place we all came from before birth? Is it the same abyss we'll return after we die? Stay right there. You might fall. I'll just lean over, reach in, and get one poem. Look, look, here it is. And this is the last poem, shortest, but maybe the most serious one. It's called The End of Stare Decisis. What really concerns me about the Supreme Court's overruling precedent is the originalist reasoning of some of the justices, which, followed to its logical conclusions, might mean someday people like me would again be considered only 3/5 of a person.
so much, Yeva. That's Yeva Johnson, everyone. The lyrical Yeva Johnson. Beautiful, fabulous. Oh, spectacular. Well, everyone, that's our featured readers for today. And we now move very briefly to our waiting list. And I understand that we have a poem from Don Krieger today. Thank you, Don. Look at all the applause, of course.
Thank you, everybody. And thanks everyone for reading and for being here. It's really very good. Wonderful, really. I have a Florida piece for you. It's in two parts. Juneteenth at Carter House Strong Park. Carter House Strong Park's a park in Tallahassee, Florida. That's where we're living, a couple of miles from the state capitol there. All men are created equal. Declaration of Independence, 1776. 87 years later, all persons held as slaves are and henceforward shall be free, 1863. 2 years later, federal troops take control of Texas to ensure that all enslaved people are freed, June 19th, 1865, Juneteenth. 89 years later, in the field of public education, segregation is a denial of equal protection. Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. 8 years later, federal marshals escort James Meredith at the University of Mississippi, 1962. The next year, federalized National Guard troops escort Vivian Malone and Alexander Hood past Governor George Wallace at the University of Alabama, 1963. 7 years later, over Governor Claude Kirk's objections, federal marshals enforced court-ordered busing from Florida school children, spring 1970. And that's when I started teaching junior high school in Florida. And I lasted for 6 weeks. 240 years after America's Independence Day, 1 in 1,000 Black men in America can expect to be killed by police. Edwards et al., Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, 2019. Juneteenth at Carter House Strong Park. Just clear of the underbrush, I walk the street's edge up Dewey, an old French town morning and 95 degrees. Rusty metal roofs, a rare 2-story, vinyl siding, and the original owner engraved on a plaque. A man on a bicycle, toothless, a shoeless woman in an overgrown lot, a pickup on flat tires, the driver's door on top of the engine. Then the 4th Street Market, meat cases and canned juice, bagged ice and gray fruit. 20 for a baseball cap, 20 more for a case of Coke. The French town in my city, we never walked there as kids, and they never came around our streets either. But some things have changed. I jog shirtless round the lagoon, hot sun on my pale skin, an egret with fanned wings on the fountain in the center. Wind-rippled water to the left, pigeons and crows, geese and laughing gulls, settled in the shade or foraging together. Trash and pond scum to the right, and from every bench men wave hello, shade trees overhanging. So many offer a kind word, a sharing hand, but each must repeat himself, so my kind may hear.
That is Don Krieger. With a Don Krieger poem, I very rarely have to say anything. The poem has spoken for itself. And I think that's how Don likes it. Not me editorializing. Thank you so much, Don. Folks, it has been an amazingly wild card of an open mic today. Before I read the names of everyone that's shared just a remarkable array of poetry today, would you please join me in unmuting and sharing your appreciation for the work and the words of our poets that have shared their astounding.
Bravo. Thank
Well
you.
done, everybody. It's been a fantastic evening as ever. I get angry if I can't join these evenings, but sometimes I get clashes because to me it's quite late in the evening. It's dark outside now.
Appreciate.
Thank you, everyone. It was wonderful.
Thank you, everyone. It's been fantastic. Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
We appreciate one and all you joining us on any Sunday that you can. And today we were so fortunate to be in the company of each other to hear and listen from at the top of the hour. We began with Harvey Soss, Alexandra Psaropoulou, Ken Burch, Sylvia Clare, Joanne James, Gordon Ferris, Mona Zamfirescu, David Brydges, Cathal MacThréinfhir, Marcella Remund, Isaac Cohen, Yeva Johnson, and we closed out the open mic today with Don Krieger. Again, thank you one and all for sharing your work, and also for those of you who were here to bear witness through your deep listening and your beautiful comments in the chat. Readers, I hope you were able to see comments left for you in the chat as you're reading. We have such a generous group of people truly committed to, the ideals of cultivating voice, which is have a live program and continue to uplift and encourage the beautiful humanity that comes from poetry. Well, I want to remind you, as Kim has already put in the chat for you, we are off next week, and we will return in June. For really what we're calling our Pride Month. We have our Poets Focus open mic to kick off the month of June, an amazing new book showcase where we're featuring in the new book showcase LGBTQ plus poets in the showcase. I'll give you a little taste of a preview already. We have confirmed Karen Poppies, whose new book is out, as well as Mark Ward joining us from Dublin, who's the editor of Impossible Archetype. And then we will end the month of June, our third week, not with a wild card open mic, but with our fourth annual Poetry Pride Parade, where we'll have some featured poets, as well as all of you on the open mic. It's going to be a great month of poetry in June, and I really look forward to spending it with you as often as possible. Well, that's it for today, my friends. Again, thank you for joining today. And if you have the time in a couple hours, join me over on the other channel. I'll be co-hosting with Susanna Case and Carolyn Wright and Lynn McGee, our West East Bicoastal Poets of the Pandemic. Check out on Facebook. All the links are there for the reading. You can find out about it. A great quartet of poets joining us today. Well, as I always end the program every week, you're getting all too accustomed to this. You know, I share with you to just take good care of yourselves, really. And of course, take exquisite care of your beloveds. I feel like a broken record when I say keep writing, because look what happens when you keep writing, and you all do keep writing. And that is the joy of this group, is we've gotten to see the longevity of your resiliency with your own voices. So what else would I say but to continue that? Keep writing. Be well, everybody. We'll see you in June. Take good care and have a great rest of your day or evening. Be well.